Go ahead and reshare it.
I know, but I gotta I wrote a long ass freaking post, dude. Okay, wait, let me copy and paste. Lordy. Okay. Are we live again? Here you go. Wait, what? Come on, man. Sorry, guys. Give it a second. Give a second. Give a second. Give a second. We're gonna get going here. I promise it. Okay. Hold on a second. I gotta retag everyone. Well, dude, I wrote this long thing. Now I got to redo it and all the names. I copied.
See, that's why you copy and paste.
I did copy and paste it, but it loses the tags when you do that. I had to go and retag. All right, sorry guys, we're gonna get going here. All right, there you go. Here's the one. I just did. All right.
Go ahead and reshare it.
And then invite people, you guys. All right. I literally don't want to do this by myself. There you go. Individually inviting people. I think, though, doesn't it let everyone know when you do a live party, it sends it to your whole friends list?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Let me mute that. All right. Wow. That's a process.
What happened to the video?
What are you talking about? The video's there. Are you saying it messed up again?
I'm looking at your watch party and it's not there.
Well, it has the old watch party. Are you watching the old watch party?
Nope, watching the new watch party.
I'm looking at it on my page right now. And what are you talking about? The video's there. Anyway, saying it messed up. Okay, guys. Welcome to a very rusty, StormCrow Dreamers talking to dreamers. This is episode 23. We got Lola. We got me, JD Glasscock. We got my co-host, Mark Potter, who unfortunately in a bout of tragic war during one of our previous episodes shattered his lightsaber. Bad.
I wouldn't say shattered.
It was shattered, Mark.
I broke a piece. I broke a piece off.
It was shattered amongst the blood of corpses in a giant, endless battle of the Force. Anyway, okay, so let's bring our guest in because it's been like an hour since we said we were going to bring him in. You want to bring in first? We have some amazing guests, guys.
Let's go with Andrea Rodriguez first.
I'm sorry, who?
Andrea Rodriguez first.
Okay, we're going to bring in Andrea, who got the acting bug about 3 years ago and has been really intensely passionate about it since then. She's also cast in my upcoming feature, Blade and Blood. So let's welcome Andrea Rodriguez. Hey, Andrea, it's only been like 3 hours since we put you in the white room. I hope you're okay.
Yes, I've been here forever.
Yeah, well, we had technical difficulties, and there's a new watch party I had to share because Mark had to close the watch part, close the video, and then reopen the video, and then so the current one should be at the top of my page if you want to share it to your friends.
Okay.
Let's bring in our Andrew's got the sexy outfit on.
Exactly.
How'd the surgery go?
It went well.
Good. Let's bring in our next guest, Anthony, who came up from a theater background, is heavily involved in theater. There you go. What's up, Anthony?
Hey.
So we have the two worlds of film and theater combining tonight. So that's interesting. It's always an interesting concept. I did. Also, there's a new watch party, Anthony. If you didn't see it, we had to shut the video down and restart it.
Oh, I saw it. I was on my phone, and I joined it and invited some people.
Cool. Yeah. I think I forget how it works, but I believe that when I create the watch party, it sends a message to all my friends that I started it. But I don't know if it does that with you guys. If you share.
I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know.
Okay, so I think the only way we would do that is if you started your own watch party from the Facebook show onto your page, but that would be
right. Yeah.
So the concept, actually, I lived in Hawaii in 92, 93, and I did a couple plays while I lived there in Lahaina, Maui. So that was an interesting concept, especially because I obviously didn't have a car when I went there, and literally they had, at the time, they had no public transportation. They literally you had to either hitchhike or take a taxi that cost crap.
You would do that for every rehearsal? Just hitchhike or take a taxi?
Yeah, because the main theater house was on the north side of the island, and I lived in the south side of the island. So literally, it was very haole guy trying to catch a hitchhike a ride back at night after rehearsal, and then so it was an interesting experience.
I mean, I kind of know what you're talking about there. Just real quick, I want to say I kind of know what you're talking about because I've had to do shows where I just took the train or Ubers to rehearsal. So because I didn't have a car at the time either. So I feel you, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Although I think probably Uber or the Dart is probably a little bit easier than hitchhiking.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, no, you definitely had it. You definitely had it hard. I'm not saying I know exactly what you're saying. I kind of get it. Yeah, no, that's harder. Yeah.
I purposely didn't drive for about 12 years of my life. I would say I think 12 years. Trying to be the artist or whatever. In the end, I realized I was just kind of a choice. But anyway, at the time, my idealism outweighed logic. But anyway, okay, so let's get going. Welcome everybody, you guys. Episode 23, StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. Let's start off with Andrea. Andrea, what is a project you've done in the last couple years that you're really passionate about and you really enjoyed?
I did a project actually just recently. I did the first 48. I keep saying the first 48. I keep thinking of that homicide show, but it's the 48-hour challenge, and everybody gets together and they make a film.
I've seen them. I've never really had interest in doing them, but I
did it. A lot of them. Accidentally. I ran into a guy and I was like, what is it? And he was like, hey, you want to be on my team? And so we actually did it in my apartment complex because my boyfriend, he's the maintenance manager. So we kind of got to use all the aspects of the apartment. So we were able to bring the whole team here. And it was called the Fashion Grind. And I was the model, and these two rival companies were fighting over each other and or fighting over me. And we drew like dark comedy, which actually was perfect because the script was kind of written that way. And it was my first time doing it, and I really, really enjoyed it, and it went really well. And I grew kind of these friendships with all these people. So we're actually working on other little side projects, and I actually thought it was really fun.
Very cool. Yeah, indie film on any kind is always a really tough challenge because usually there's not a lot of money involved, and you're really
exactly
to try to, but it teaches you a lot of cool skill sets. It teaches you how to do a lot with very little, and it teaches you how to try to work around F-ups.
And you get to find the people that are really passionate, because when you're not getting paid and you're all putting in your time and things like that, you find the people that really, really want.
True, but it also means sometimes you're not dealing with the most highly skilled.
True.
Like camera guys or sound guys or
of course
any of those things you're kind of having to deal with. So there always ends up being a ton of technical difficulties.
Fortunately, we didn't have that problem. We only had one little sound glitch, but then again, we're all trying to get there. So we were all inexperienced and not.
No, I mean, it's very cool, and you can come up with some great stuff. I've done it a lot of times now. Now I'm almost to the point where please let me do something bigger budgeted, where I can have like skilled people everywhere around me, and and then I can just focus on actually telling the story instead of trying to fix issues.
Of course.
But I hear you. But all those things are great learning lessons. They are valuable beyond value. Like I don't think I would be able to do what I can do now if I didn't have all those experiences to draw from.
Exactly.
The stumbling and the fumbling and all that stuff. So I agree with you. Now, Anthony, in the last couple of years, what has been something you've been intensely passionate about? I'm assuming it's probably theater.
Well, yes. I've most of my, I guess, career, you could say, I've only been paid for probably about 20% of the project I've done thus far. Most of it's just been, labors of love. But so the past 2 years, within the past 2 years, I was doing theater in college. A lot of Shakespeare. We had this giant, massive textbook, literally about this big, that was just all the great plays of the 20th century. I'm sorry. I think it was like great plays throughout all of history, and the 20th century had sort of the biggest section. But there was the ancient Greek plays, the medieval plays, and we went starting from the Greeks in class. We went all the way from like Greek theater all the way to the present day. And
I think most Greeks, even the philosophers, would write some theater. Like,
oh yeah, exactly. They would have like
Euphrates or
Euripides, Aeschylus, Aristophanes. All those dudes were playwrights, and they were also philosophers. And they would have like contests like what we do now in ancient Greece. They would perform the plays that they wrote, and the crowd would judge which play they liked.
I mean, most of those people back then were sponsored by
the state. Yeah, exactly.
The wealthy or whatever division that they had. So they had to write. So they had to write plays usually because beyond the philosophy, the wealthy would want like, oh, create me a play that I'm sponsoring, and then I can like looking great and awesome in front of all the my fellow powerful people.
Yeah, and I've always what drew me to theater. Well, my first experience of theater, I'm pretty sure, was when I was about 7 years old. My parents took me to a community theater production of Oliver Twist, the musical, and I remember just having this weird feeling of jealousy in a way that I was like, I want to be there. Why am I sitting here in this audience when I want to be there with all the eyes on me? So I guess it kind of came from sort of a selfish place of like, I want eyes on me. I want to be doing what they're doing. So I auditioned for a show at that theater as soon as I could. The next show they were doing Tom Sawyer, and I got the part of Ben Rogers, who's like a friend of Tom Sawyer, who's like eating an apple, and Tom convinces him that painting a fence is way cooler than whatever he's doing. So he trades. So Tom Sawyer can get out of.
See, the only thing I remember from Tom Sawyer is Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah. Well, Huckleberry Finn was in the play too, but this play was it was sort of an adaptation of the first book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and Huckleberry Finn's in that book. But we could go on and on about that, and go off on a whole tangent.
Okay, so
the play. I want to try to stick to the
play you were doing that you worked on in the last couple of years.
So the last couple of years, I've done plays like we did Hamlet in my school. I played the part of Osric, who I played two parts. I played Osric, and I played the player king, who's sort of the king in this play that Hamlet puts on for the benefit of his uncle. I was also in a show.
That's tough language to do, man. That's
yeah, but I've been interested. Yeah, it is very challenging to get into. It's like a whole nother language essentially. But I've been fortunate in that I grew up with parents who are also really into Shakespeare and had me watch all these Shakespearean movies. And so from when I was very small, I was watching, not necessarily reading yet, but I was watching Shakespeare, I was listening to Shakespeare, I was getting familiar with the
only thing I ever got into of his was in the beginning of my career as a poet. I read all of his sonnets.
Right, yeah. Well, that's sort of poetry. That's kind of poetry 101, I guess, his sonnets, yeah.
So yeah, I mean the other stuff was too difficult to read. I had a Shakespeare greatest like writing or whatever because of the language used. It was kind of like trying to get through Dante's Inferno. You know what I mean? It's where it's all
yes.
It's like 300 pages or
very
basically
dense, very dense stuff.
verse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rhyming verse. You know, and so it's like difficult.
It is difficult, but I think it's very rewarding too. I was just saying, you're totally right. It's very difficult stuff, but I think it's very rewarding too, in a sense. It's once you take the time to sit down and really read it, and maybe you have like a little booklet to the side that has definitions of words. You're reading and you're writing down what words mean, and there's this tremendous feeling for me when I'm reading something like Shakespeare or Dante's Inferno, where I'm sort of in awe of once I fully get it, I'm sort of in awe of the brilliance of this writing and the brilliance of this mind, and it inspires me
to be able to hold it for that long. I mean, Lemore d'Arthur is the same way, the French guy who basically the Arthur legend.
Exactly, yeah.
Prison. So that was it's like a long form poem as well. Lemore d'Arthur, it's like 150 pages, 200 pages.
Yeah, but so I've done a lot of Shakespeare in school. I did a play called The Liar, which was written by a French playwright, Corneille. Back, I think he was a contemporary of Voltaire. And the most recent play I did was
Voltaire. For people down, if you know Rimbaud, Voltaire was someone that was right before Rimbaud popped out. So he was considered one of the greatest poets of his time, and was French. But anyway, go ahead.
So I was just saying, the most recent play I did was
Flowers of Evil would be a well-known Voltaire.
Or what's it called? Candide. My school did that too. Candide. It's a great play by Voltaire. But anyway,
personally, I think Rimbaud was like the Jim Morrison of France.
Yeah.
He was, but he had that same kind of demeanor of that kind of always causing trouble, like living life to the fullest.
Young bad boy kind of vibe to him,
I love it. The young child god, but whatever, the Hermes
or Kurt Cobain even. But I did two plays called Wolf Hall, which was written by the playwright's name is escaping me, but it's takes place in the court of Henry VIII, and it's about Henry VIII's divorce from his first wife and the turmoil that caused, within the Catholic Church and what sort of formed the Anglican Church. And so I did that show with a group called the Stolen Shakespeare Guild over in Fort Worth. They're a great group. I want to give them a quick shout out. And
one thing I would worry about moving into film is what I've noticed with a lot of theater actors when, now like 15, 16 projects I've cast for. Is a lot of theater actors go way over the top. Feature films tend to be more realistic. You don't need to
project. You're not speaking to like 3,300 people or however
people in a row at 50. And you know what I mean? They tend to over exaggerate everything because they're trying to reach the live audience. Where in film, the camera's right in front of you, so you don't really need to do all the over the top. I can just usually always tell when I'm looking at audition tapes. I can usually immediately tell that I'm watching a theater actor.
Exactly. I've had
to wrap that up a little bit and tone it down a little bit. Then it can provide great skill sets for.
I've definitely had to become aware of that. I've gotten a lot of auditions, and even for short films, because I've recently started to focus more on film now than on theater. I still love theater, but I've done that all my life, and I kind of want to focus my attention towards film and TV right now. And I've noticed that I've had people on the short films I've done, directors on set say, let's take that down like 5 notches, stuff like that. Like just
because you're going for more realism as opposed to over exasperated drama.
Exactly.
Back to you, and we'll talk about that in a second. Andrea, what is a current project you are working on that you are intentionally passionate about and gets your libido rolling?
Well, there's nothing like that I'm working on at the second. I am doing something with we started doing this project, which was going to be filmed on my property because I have such a large property. So it's a actually a great filming location. So it's like a sci-fi kind of futuristic, and it's got that female front, and she's kind of like a badass character. She's a warrior, and there's all these crazy creatures, and I've always wanted to play a film like that because I kind of get typecasted as the always be kind of bimbo sexy type roles, and I hate those roles. So
well, Eve is not that role.
No, exactly. So when I saw that,
Eve is more sick, mentally sick, dangerous,
exactly.
intelligent.
That's my type of vibe. And I was going to mention that the Blade and Blood project, which is why I'm pushing so much for it, because that's like my ideal character, and that's like something that's already established. The other one is still, we're writing, we're still talking about it, but this is written, it's ready, it just needs to be funded.
So yeah, sci-fi is tough because you got to be able to have money to make all those things look real.
Exactly.
Especially if prosthetics and creatures and.
Exactly, but the guy
the worst thing you can do is do it underfunded and it looks like fake.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
So editing, but we're doing it all ourselves. So he's an amazing editor. Like the way he makes these things. I mean, he's a very talented young kid. It's just, getting everything moving. When you have jobs and all this stuff, it's hard to get stuff going, and so it's like it's a real pain in the ass. But
well, and you got to understand, there's like so many not good people doing stuff that end up getting money and then basically lose all the money of the people that gave it to them because it never did anything.
Exactly.
It makes all those people then not believe in the next thing that comes down the pipe, etc. I mean, there's been great things that have happened from the internet and opened many doors for many people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the positive of it. The negative of it is it lets all these people that are just good at spieling and actually don't have talent but are good at talking people into doing what they want. And then they end up kind of ruining for it because they didn't have the actual talent behind it. Project doesn't do anything. Then those investors are a lot less likely to want to.
Of course, and that's with anything where somebody messes it up for other people, and it's like you do have great people out there with great ideas who are really passionate and will follow through. It's just hard to get the funding.
Yeah, you just gotta. It's just step one, step two. You just gotta keep dogging. I mean, we did Blade and Blood, I think, for like 2 years. That website alone took like 3.5 months to like build. You know what I mean? So, and that's because the guy, an amazing guy, Michael Quigg, that did it. He works in full-time job and had to do work on the website and all that.
And that's awesome.
Projects take a long time. I mean, unless you're like wealthy yourself or just got a bunch of buddies with a bunch of free money lying around. It's a process. But through the process, Blade and Blood has, like for Blade and Blood, through the time span of that process, it is developed more. It wouldn't be where it is now as far as world development and all those kind of things if it hadn't taken that long. You know what I mean? So if I had gotten the money out of the gate and shot it 2 years ago, I don't think it would be as good or as fully developed as an IP as it is because we've been working on it for 2 years. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I get that point exactly. That's why I'm sticking with some of the films that I'm working with people with, because I believe in the film. I believe in the creative process. It just takes time, to get other people to be just as involved, to get people to fund it or to sponsor it, to get other people to believe in it. So that's why it's time consuming and it's drags out, and you kind of want to get there already and you want to do it, but it's like, I believe that it's good and I'll stick with it until, it shows something, there's something to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. That's also, I feel like I keep telling Mark to stick with his battle against the Dark Force with his lightsaber. I still stick with it. Even when you lose and get defeated and shatter your lightsaber. Still, you shattered it in the blood of carnage against the Dark Forces.
Hey, that's going out like a boss.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a boss that got his ass kicked, but still, man, still a boss. Hey, just let you people know that are watching, that are regulars of our show. We're going to have a show next week with two amazing guests. We're going to have to push that back to a couple weeks because Mark Potter has multiple nominations for his feature script he did with his significant other, Alex. And he's doing a film festival where it's nominated in Vegas.
Congratulations.
Festival.
Thank you. Yeah, we
get roaringly drunk and
we're not nominated. We're not nominated. We just got
lightsaber.
We just got selected. So time will tell.
Don't downplay it.
Time will tell.
All right, but so that show is going to be pushed back till 2 weeks from now, with Ryan Barnes and Carrie Graves, who were also in Blade and Blood, as Shark and the Shark and the Candyman. So that will be, plus they're local DFW. They're both local DFW musicians and huge bands. So
I've worked with Ryan before.
I'm sorry?
I said I've worked with Ryan before. We were in a music video together for this local rapper. I met him on that's where I first met Ryan. Was on set there.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. He's a teacher, lead singer, actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he's massive. He's like a mini.
Oh yeah, he's a jacked dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and he'll be a great Shark. He's playing the Shark in Blade and Blood.
He did it phenomenal.
Huh?
He did phenomenal.
Oh, you mean the audition? That's what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. And then Carrie Graves, who's in a huge INXS tribute band. They goes all over the place to play, but they're based in Dallas. He's playing the Candyman. But certainly. Okay, so Andrea's talking about her sci-fi project. If you just joined us, Andrea first started talking about what she's done in the past. She was talking about 48-hour competition, film competition that brought her into the world of film. Then she was now been talking about a sci-fi project that her and her friends are trying to get together in. And then she's also obviously in Blade and Blood in the role of Eve, my feature, that we'll hopefully be shooting this next year. And then Anthony was talking about how he came up in doing plays and theater all through his life. And now he's trying to make that transition to film. And let's go into that, Anthony. What is the current project you're trying to work on or you're passionate about? Or?
Okay, so it's the biggest project I'm working on right now is it's called Navigator, and it's actually a project that I've written. It's an original screenplay of mine, and I wrote it probably in a 2-month period, like from the first idea to when I had the finished copy. It was about 2 months, and this was when I was really I had this huge desire to just do as much in the film industry as I possibly could. Like yesterday, I had this. It was probably my junior or senior year of college. I just wanted to just audition like mad, which I did, and I got a lot of great parts in short films and a couple minor roles in like Murder Made Me Famous and a feature they did here in Dallas called Assassin 33 AD, which was pretty cool. But in turn, I wanted to create something, not just be in something. I wanted to create my own project, like very, very ferociously. So I wrote this script, and I thought to myself, well, I wish I could direct this myself and everything, but I don't have the means to do. It would take too long for me. I would get discouraged. I'd probably get discouraged too quickly. I wanted to, instead of.
Well, and directing film is like any other skill set. You have to like.
Yeah.
A lot to it.
You have to train it. Yeah, and I didn't feel ready, but I still wanted this project to get made, so I started sending it to. I looked at my Facebook friends list. I looked at friends of friends. I looked for any local director I could find, like a local filmmaker I could find, and made a list of all of them I could find. And I sent the script to all of them and said, hey, I'm a local here. I'm an actor, but I've just started going into writing. I mean, I've written stuff all my life, like short stories and poems and stuff, just for me, really, not for anyone else. But I wanted to make something for everyone else, I guess. So I wrote all these directors emails, showing them my scripts, telling them a little bit about myself, and some of them got back to me and were like, "Yeah, I'd like to do this, but I'll get back to you later. Like, I'm busy right now," which totally understandable.
Most directors, not all, but most directors are writers as well. So I mean,
yeah,
they want someone else's project that doesn't already have money attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Big ask. So I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah, I knew it was, and I knew it was a big ask. I knew it was a big thing I was asking, but I was just, and I wasn't even really that confident that I would find anyone. I was just sort of like hoping against hope, like maybe something will happen. And a director named Michael W. Green, who I think some of you know, messaged me back, and it was like he had immediate interest and said, "Let's talk immediately." And so I called him, I think that day, and we talked about the script. And within like a couple of days, he was like, "Yeah, I'll do this." And I was like, "Okay, wow, this is it." Suddenly,
is he doing it like you can attach him as a director, or he's doing it as he's going to produce it and put it together?
He's producing it and directing it, and we just filmed a promo video for it, sort of like trailer, but not really, because the scenes we filmed aren't actually in the script. They're sort of suggested in the script.
They're a teaser trailer.
Yeah, it's a teaser trailer, exactly. Yeah, so we created. He actually, based on my script, he wrote a scene for the promo that was just for the promo. That's probably not going to end up in the actual movie, but it's not like we're shortchanging it with the movie.
No, you're good, Ron.
Which is in the short, exactly. So we just filmed the promo like last week, and it's in the process of being edited right now. And I'm not really involved in the editing process, so I don't really have any specific timeline. But once it's up, I'm gonna post it on my Facebook, and it's gonna be crowdfunded. So the reason we filmed the promo is so we could attach it to a crowdfunding site. I think it's going to be Seed and Spark is the.
You're talking about a feature, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a feature length.
Seed and Spark, is that the one where they can actually you can offer investment opportunities?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't know too much about it.
A lot of them, the problem is like Kickstarter we've been using. You can't offer them anything. You can't literally on the Kickstarter say you're going to get investor shares or any of that stuff.
We definitely want to offer our donors something. We want to give people a reason to want to support our project. So
no, but I think Seed and Spark, if I remember right, it might be one of the ones that's it's the new thing. It's making it an actual IP where what you're doing is selling shares.
Okay. I'm
not sure though. I'd have to look again.
I'm not sure either. I really don't know about that. All I really know is that it's a crowdfunding site similar to Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all those websites. And I know Michael had a preference for Seed and Spark. That was his idea to use that one. And I was just like, okay, whatever, man.
I mean, if it's the one I'm thinking of,
it's fine with
okay, so let's, because we're almost at the break. Andrea, what is a future project that you're just overamped about that would be just amazing if you could make it happen?
A future project would definitely be the Blade and Blood.
Blade and Blood.
I'm very excited about that film, and I really wanted to see it happen. And then to go to Texas and be filming out there and to actually be paid for a project. I've never.
Well, I do, and a lot of people believe that Blade and Blood will launch careers, not just mine, but launch other people's careers. If you can make a feature film that becomes a cult classic, that is how throughout the history of Hollywood, many careers have been launched in smaller indie films that take off and become popular. I think Clerks was like that.
Yep, Clerks is a cult classic.
Yeah, Clerks was like an indie film shot out of nowhere, and it came out of nowhere. But although he did have help, if he got some somewhat named actors at the time, they weren't huge yet. I think Affleck and them.
Napoleon Dynamite also
appearances or whatever.
Well, and he also created Dogma, so
that was later. The Dogma was Clerks was his first one when he wasn't really known yet, and he did have some connections because I think he had been working with Marvel as a. So I think his job was with Marvel before he went and shot film. But
wasn't he writer for the Superman movie that never got made?
Yeah, there's a whole funny skit he does on YouTube.
Yeah.
With his meetings with Prince and his meetings with the weird producer who ended up going and making Wild Wild West and a spider. And,
yeah.
the
He was like, I want Superman to fight a spider or something like that.
Yeah.
What, Arachnos?
It was very weird. I think that was the one that Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman.
Yeah. And there's photos of Nicolas Cage in the suit. Looks bizarre.
Yeah, and it was so funny because this producer, I guess, started off as Barbra Streisand's hairdresser.
Yeah. John Peters, yeah.
That's only in Hollywood does all this happen. But you should watch that. If you haven't seen the YouTube skit of Kevin Smith talking about his experience with writing a Superman script, it's funnier than hell.
It's really funny, yeah.
YouTube skit on the whole thing, and how weird this producer was and all the weird things the producer wanted in the Superman film. And then I think Tim Burton got involved, and then Kevin Smith got kicked off. But I appreciate that, though, Andrea, if you giving the answer of Blade Blood. I think if we can get the money, the couple $100,000, and then if all the actors bring what they can bring, and then it's skilled crew, and we do how I wrote it, I think it could definitely blow up and all that stuff. And because of the way we're doing it, we're going to have to do it, hit festivals once it's done. But I think it will kill any festival it's in, and then then distributors would pay attention. But
and then you get.
Before we go on break, what is a future project you would love to do that would make you excited as hell?
Well, to be honest, like what Andrea said, your project Blade Blood. I mean, I auditioned for that. I guess I didn't make the cut, but if there's any roles open, I'm still interested.
I think
500
people audition or something more than that.
No, I got you, man. I'm not saying I got you, man. No, actually, I auditioned for the part Ryan got, and Ryan is 100 times better than I would have been. And so
Ryan, the shark.
Ryan's the shark. Yeah, that was the part.
Too innocent looking to be the shark, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
but see, that's a
young good boy.
But see, that's the thing that can spark someone to underestimate them.
Yeah,
true. I mean, you could do like an American Psycho guy, like man, I'm sure you can get that look on you, but
yeah,
just looking
at crazy people before,
trying to get a seedy street drug dealer, I don't see that in you. You could
got you, man.
Serial killer behind the behind the facade of well off, be like this twisted guy, but. Ryan's got the street experience too.
Oh yeah,
he's got that gravitas that you only get by doing stuff like frontman of a band, like stuff.
Yeah, no, Ryan's perfect for the part. Yeah, but otherwise,
plus I think you're a little young. That was meant for someone that's more like 30s probably.
Yeah, whatever. It's all good, man. In terms of I really would like to do a space opera, and I know that kind of thing is like outside most DFW filmmakers' budget, but something where I'm on a spaceship or I'm fighting aliens, Star Trek, Star Wars related. I would consider. I would love to do something like a project along.
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I have one of those kind of scripts done that's on the panel called "Wolf, the Raven, and the Hawk."
Oh, nice, man.
It's very epic. Although it's not in space, though, it's here. It's sci-fi, though, but it's
still, yeah. I mean, just sci-fi in general.
Radiation mist, except for one area where all of humanity that's left alive is in this kind of.
So it's like the Mist from Stephen King.
Huh?
It's kind of like the Mist from Stephen King. The Stephen.
Not really. This is actually acid, like literally.
Oh, okay.
Mist that like literally covers everything except this one small area where humanity survived.
Okay, wow. Okay.
But yeah, I get it. That obviously Star Wars stuff like that stuff's always an appealing concept. Lucas was brilliant in the creation of that.
Yeah.
That whole concept. Although I think that started with Star Trek, and then I think
Well, yeah.
kind of I would have to say Lucas probably looked at Star Trek and said, let me do my own version.
Or Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers kind of shows.
Well, both of those were after Star Trek, but yeah. Star Trek, I think, was the first that really did all that. That was 19.
Star Trek is the first of its kind.
Yeah, that was the first, and then Star Wars came out before Buck Rogers and all that. The Flash Gordon was very. There wasn't a lot of the world being shown. It was basically just Flash and Mongo or whatever that guy's name, Ming, whatever.
Ming.
Yeah.
Death to Ming. Oh,
yeah, that was like, I mean, it basically really focused on just the fight between those two. It didn't really get into the whole world creating type things, except for seeing a few different races that you saw within the scenes. But I remember that old one that's from like 1960s, I think, Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting creating that big of a world that I've always loved, and I try to do that in all my films, whether it's a Western or whatever, to create that vast world of characters and depth. And I always say, as a filmmaker, and especially in today's world, and especially if you're coming from an indie standpoint and you're not super connected, try to make all your scripts with the thought process of franchise merch.
Okay.
Instilled into the world you're creating, because usually for indies to try to make that big jump in today's world, money people have to look at it and see money from many different angles.
Of course.
Usually pick it up. That means they got to see that they can make money off of it on more than just being a film.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with the whole superhero phase and the, pretty much
makes sense. Yeah.
Now or like literally. So personally, I write every film. I can make a video game on it. I can make like merch on it and stuff like that. And then impossibility of sequels. That's another angle of
definitely sequels.
Rich enough that you could dance in it for a while. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But definitely, you guys, we're going to take a little bit of a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Let's get a drink. Let Lola go take a piss. And then we'll be back in 5. But I'll give you the question I ask everyone when we come back. What is the best film you've seen in the last 2 years and why?
All right.
So I'll let you guys think about that.
Hold that over.
We're going to be back. You have been watching StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, episode 23. Mark is going to take his half a lightsaber and go and do a couple routine meditative force fight routines just to get himself limber. And then we will be back in 5 minutes. As always, keep dreaming. See you in 5. You say see you in 5, Lola? See you in 5. Yeah, just remember, don't hang up the phone, Andrea. We're still on.
Yeah, I know.
Look. All right, guys. Everyone back? Hello? Hello, hello. All right, well, I'm just waiting on Mark to get back, and then we'll get going. I don't know where he is, though.
All right.
Hello?
Hey, Mark. Andrea she was walking around and she got disconnected.
Okay.
She said she's back in the waiting room.
There you are.
Andrea, for some reason, I knew that was happening as soon as I saw your phone starting to move. I was like, she's gonna somehow get disconnected.
When did you send that to me?
What?
When did you send that to me?
About being disconnected?
Yeah.
That was just as I got disconnected. I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
All right.
Okie dokie. Now I'm gonna teach Andrea something here. Andrea, can you go to the main shot of Andrea? Can't you just click on it? You have the master control. There you go. Andrea, you never want to see that much headroom in a shot. Look at that thing, man. You got literally like half the, yeah.
I can't see it on that
your ceiling, right? We're not talking to your, I'm trying to give you a good camera shot.
Yeah.
So like, even that's probably a little much. Okay, so like a little lower. There you go. See, look at it. There's beautiful Andrea. We can talk and
Oh, and
and
you
we're
don't
not
want
like having to look down and see half of her ceiling.
Yeah.
Dude.
Hey, speaking of that, I don't know if you guys like bad movies or like to watch like hilariously bad movies, but have you guys heard of a movie called Samurai Cop?
No.
At all? So in Samurai Cop, it's like an amateur. I think it was an amateur filmmaker who made it, and there's lots of problems with the movie. But every shot of someone's head, the head's like perfectly centered in the frame. So there's like that. You can look at like still shots from the movie. close-ups usually like right here, like they start at the forehead and go down usually, right? In this movie,
well,
like
Leone created that. It's called Leone shot. Sergio Leone from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He's the one that created that shot. But no, before him, like old John Ford films, it was more like the whole head, and part of the upper chest was considered a close-up.
Yeah, but this movie has like absurd amounts of space
On
over
their head,
everyone's head. Yeah,
usually beginning filmmaker, yes.
yeah, exactly. That's
The beginning filmmakers have issues with is the lighting. They never think about lighting.
Mm-hmm.
They what you just mentioned. They center frame all their subjects right in the middle of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And they forget about levels. They forget about going up and down. They shoot below and above. They tend to stay on a level plane, like through the whole film, with like whatever their subjects are. So those are the things that beginning filmmakers learn as they go.
As they go along, yeah.
Lighting is your emotion. Secondly, if you center frame everything, usually things look better from an angle. And also moving in thirds. The camera it's called thirds, right third, left third, and left third, right third, and then the middle third. And so usually it's more interesting to keep your subject in one side of the frame or the other, and it creates more of a dynamic. And then up and down dynamic too. It's usually a more interesting shot when you're shooting slightly below them or you're slightly above them, depending on what you're trying to do. But anyway, okay, so let's get back to the question, and welcome back, everybody. The question I gave you guys before, we'll start with Anthony. What is the best film you've seen in the last 2 years and why?
Okay, so I was thinking about this question, and I wanted to clarify something. Do you mean, hold on, I think I...
Doesn't have to be a new film, just it has to be new to you. The best feature film you've seen in the last 2 years.
Okay, new to me. So it's not like it came out in the last 2 years. It's just like
you can say it's something from 1950 if you want that you have never seen before.
Yeah. So the film that I saw within the last 2 years that made the biggest impression on me, and is actually one of my favorite films, is Heavy Metal, the animated movie.
Oh wow, yeah, that's my time period.
That
that's
movie,
yeah,
movie just blew my mind when I first saw it. The first time I sat down and watched it, I was in college. I was in my apartment. It was super late at night. I was really tired, and I just wanted to watch something, and I chose that. And the whole time I was just like, "What is happening here in this movie?" Like, I don't.
Well, you gotta remember that was a time period where a lot of people liked weed and acid.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure
it was very much meant for an audience that was either on shrooms or acid.
Yeah. But
you can probably see that if you watch it again with that mental aspect, because the late 80s was very much about the dead and acid and shrooms, and you also had a lot of too. And then
the soundtrack to that movie rocks too in terms of music. The biggest takeaway I got from that movie, or one of them, was I just dug the soundtrack.
A lot of people did at the time period. It was very apropos for the time period. But it's a good film regardless, and
it's a great film. Yeah,
a film that broke boundary for heavy metal. Okay, so at that point in time, there had only been one other feature animated film that got released with rated R.
Was that a Ralph Bakshi movie?
There's only been one other film before heavy metal that had ever been released into theaters that was rated R, animated film, feature film, and that was Fire and Ice.
Right, which is Ralph Bakshi.
That was like a few years before heavy metal came out. It's like probably mid '80s.
I love Ralph Bakshi films too. I love Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice was a brilliant film, and I think it was the only time they thought it was going to be huge, and ended up not being as huge. But
at the
time they had done real actors and animated them.
Yeah, rotoscoping. Yeah.
I think they thought that was the next big thing. It never ended up being the next big thing, but
I'm sorry that it wasn't, because I think rotoscoping looks beautiful. I think it's a very arresting. It's just an arresting.
For Fire and Ice was a very dramatic, heavy, original film concept that was.
Also, American Pop is my favorite Ralph Bakshi movie. I think.
Yeah, that came out right after, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like in 1980 when American Pop came out. But like American Pop, Fire and Ice, what are some other good Bakshi? I'm not the biggest fan of Fritz the Cat. That his first one.
I don't even know.
It's all right, I guess. You
I
don't know
remember
Fritz the
American
Cat?
Pop, and I remember Fire and Ice. But
Okay.
I just remember Fire and Ice was the first film I can ever remember. It was an animated feature film that got released in the theaters, and it was rated R. Now, obviously, in Japan and other places, they had been doing that for a long time already. But in America, there was no such thing. All animated film was owned by Disney. It was all Disney.
Yeah.
Feature films
it was
that
like kids
were
stuff
all
for a
in that
while.
realm. Fire Ice kind of blew that door open of an animated rated R feature film that got an actual theater release. And Heavy Metal took that door and at the time blew it up because everybody saw Heavy Metal when it came out, man.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it was a huge event. Wish I was alive. I've always kind of wished sometimes I was alive in the 80s or I lived through the 80s because I love 80s music, 80s films.
Yeah, sometimes I feel that way about the 60s.
No, yeah, so yeah.
Because that's my jaunt, my the Doors, the Eagles, Steve Miller, that Beatnik time, Kerouac.
Oh yeah.
If you've never listened to Kerouac's live jazz recordings of him doing spoken word to jazz, you got it, man. And so you can find him on YouTube. It's literally that guy had like a voice of velvet.
I think I have heard those. Yeah, another guy like that is Joe Frank. I don't know if you heard of Joe Frank, but he did these sort of surrealist like radio spoken word poems where he'd just be sort of telling a story that didn't make sense, but he said it with like such he had this amazingly cool voice and said this absurd story completely.
I've never heard anything better than Kerouac as far as a live voice. I mean, I think Cohen comes.
Well, yeah, sure.
But I think Kerouac is probably the smoothest because he was also a brilliant poet. So he was a mastersmith of words. But anyway, Andrea, what is the greatest film you've seen in the last 2 years and why?
Last 2 years, I definitely say, like, when you asked me the question, I thought about the movie Quiet Place. And specifically from the acting standpoint, I thought that was a really good movie. The acting.
I haven't seen it. I recognize the name, but what was the theme?
It's with Emily Blunt, and they can't speak, or they can't make any noise because there's these monsters, and if they hear them, they come, and they are motivated by sound, and it was just a really, really good movie. And it's 4 people in the whole movie, and
it's like a horror.
Yeah, it's like a horror thriller, sci-fi kind of genre, and it was really good. It had me on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Well, that's amazing, since that probably the budget on that was probably insignificant.
Yeah, probably. It was it.
Because what you're talking, it's in a couple locations, and there's no one else in it but the 4 actors.
There's actually this that I saw recently, and I believe it's with Christian Bale, and it's an older movie, and they're not allowed to have art, or everybody kind of.
Talking about Equilibrium?
Say it
yeah,
again.
Equilibrium. Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Yeah, I recently saw that, and
that's one of the most. I always put that as one of the most underrated sci-fi films ever made. I put it with that and Dark City.
That was really good.
Dark City. I was literally just thinking about Dark City.
Those two are some of the most underrated sci-fi films ever made that didn't get the publicity they deserved, didn't get the accolades they deserved. Both very, very original, done brilliantly, brilliant acting, brilliant storytelling, very original. And neither one of them, when they came out, they did not have the giant Hollywood promo machine, did not get behind them, did not promote them correctly. They were like little blips when they came out. No one even knew they were out.
Well, seeing it now, I would have thought.
Only because both of them engendered a heavy, like Blade and Blood, I think what Blade and Blood will be, they engendered a heavy cult fan base.
Right, yeah.
both of those movies after they were out of the theater, and then word of mouth, and then like they both have a big giant cult fan base.
Well, when was Equilibrium made?
90s, I think, late 90s.
Oh yeah, see, I would have thought seeing it now.
Same thing with Dark
Dark
City. I think Dark City was mid 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, Dark City was like 98, I think.
Yeah, and I think Equilibrium was maybe early 2000s, end of 90s.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but both brilliant films. Equilibrium, gung fu, man.
Yeah. You know, something funny is that I think pretty sure that Dark City came out the same year as The Truman Show did. And a lot of people make the comparison that the plots of Dark City and Truman Show are pretty similar because it's about like spoilers, I guess, but it's
Not
about
really,
like
man. Not at all. One is a sci-fi.
Well, it's like a fake world. You know, it's a fake world where
it is. But I mean, the Truman Show is like a basically.
I know they're different. They're obviously very different.
More of a social statement about people. You know what I mean? Like about how people are so in tune with these reality shows that they're gonna like.
Yeah.
You know, they created this whole world for reality watchers. Where Dark City is literally like you have no fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah.
It's in this a-hole city, and then all of a sudden it ends up being some giant alien ship where you're being studied, going through space. You know what I mean? So like, really, if someone knows what's coming, Dark City blows your mind when you finally see what the hell is going on. You're like,
oh yeah, Dark City.
Like, whoa, man! I could not even have guessed at that coming. You know what I mean?
Now I have to watch Dark City.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, you got to watch Dark City. It's brilliant. The problem was Dark City is there was no huge actors in it. So at the time in Hollywood, if there was no huge superstar actors in it, it got no love from the Hollywood promotion machine, man.
Of course.
It would not get TV commercials. It would not get it was lame because the acting in it is amazing. Andrea, what did you just do? You just shut yourself off.
It showed like a screen thing popped up in the center.
Oh, screensaver. But yeah, you should definitely watch. If you like Equilibrium, you would love Dark City. Dark City is a brilliant film, and the punch when it comes is just so startling and amazing and very original that you'll love it.
That's my type of film.
And in fact, Dark City reminds me feel of the city itself of what I'm going to try to go for with Blade and Blood.
Yeah,
now, I definitely have to watch
Dark City when he's just wandering around the city is the feel I'm going to try to get with Blade and Blood. It's going to be that kind of Sin City-ish, Dark City-ish kind of gravitas of heaviness.
Film noir.
Yeah, I mean, both are film noir, actually. Yes, thing-wise. People think film noir for some reason has to be black and white. It's not. It's just a lighting style. It's using heavy shadows and the kind of a gray palette. But definitely, I would love to. Someday, I will do a movie that utilizes the whole Sin City that no one else ever really did. Is that whole color emote thing where colors would come into.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, when Sin City came out, I thought it was going to become huge. I thought you were going to see multiple films come out doing that, and nothing, really nothing.
Not really.
Yeah, no, nothing.
So I don't know if it was just so expensive to do that. The post expense of doing that is like I have no idea. I thought it was a great art tool, original. I mean, you saw a little bit of it before that in Pleasantville and a few things, but the artistic nuance, the way it was used in Sin City, I thought was brilliant. Here, where are you going?
Hello,
Andrea?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Sorry, there was something on fire on my patio.
Something on fire on your patio. Hey, this reminds me. What was that one gas dude where literally he was walking around in alleyways when we came alive?
Oh.
Like,
is the thing on fire no longer on fire?
One of the guests was literally walking in the city and then got in his car. It's not like he didn't know for weeks that we were going to do the show. Then got in his car and his battery was almost dead right when we started the show. And battery did die like a third of the way from the show. And then he came back in the last third of the show after sitting in his car charging it for like 30 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was such a surreal, interesting episode, I would say. That was your Brent, right? The other guest was...
Yep.
Yeah, that was an interesting concept. But we have interesting things. So you guys, we were here for that episode when the guy wandered the streets with a dead battery. We were here when Mark Potter, against thousands of enemies, shattered his lightsaber. We've had so many moments. Now we are here as Andrea's house burns to the ground.
Thankfully,
You can't buy these Hollywood dramatic moments. I'm telling you, man.
No, you can't.
You know, we should make a
really
sitcom out of that.
Lola captivated the world.
Sitcom?
Cuteness.
Yeah, we should make a sitcom out of that.
Mhm.
We have people living their different lives. People traveling through alleyways. People being attacked with their lightsabers. People's houses burning while they're on an interview.
Yeah, see? Look at that. And then that's the commitment, though. Andrea came back and is now letting her house burn down so she can do this talk show.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So in the back, you'll start seeing smoke seeping in.
Yeah.
But
That's
Make
what
sure
I saw, literally. Smoke on the patio. Good thing the blinds were open. I was like, what though? What is that? My mistake.
hey, I think you're going to be a great Eve, Andrea. You're going to be the badass, sexy, insane villain.
I can't wait to play that role. This is
That
definitely
has a penchant for being a little over lustful, mixed in with some reason violence.
I like violence.
Yeah. Anyway, and then it leaves on an end zone if she's going to be worse than her father,
Yay.
and what she's going to do with Lilith, who's still alive at the end and being told she's going to be your next toy after you've killed Delilah. So,
Spoiler.
yeah. Well, you know, by the time it comes out, I doubt they're going to remember that one comment.
People will forget.
So 23 of
This is live. This is recorded.
It is, but it's episode 23. You're going to go back and have to listen to like 5 minutes of when I said something. Come on now.
Yeah, I dig through it.
If our only audience is the 5,000 people that are on my Facebook, then really, I don't care. If that's as far reaching as we get and they got a spoiler out of it, then there you go.
Yeah.
But hopefully we expand a little further than people that know me on Facebook.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. That's always the goal. To get the audience greater than your Facebook friends.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go into something that I found fascinating. Okay, that we're still talking about Russian meddling in our politics now. 4 years later, 3.5 years later, that we're still effing talking about it. Like literally, that we're still effing talking about it. So I read an article. Now, it's so funny because none of these medias have actually live talked about this, but all of them in their online presence have articles on it. And it's so hilarious. It showed, I read one today that it was like between just 1950 and 2000, the U.S. interfered 85 times with other countries' elections.
Yep.
Like 85 times during that same span. And this is the Washington Post, so they have no bend towards Russia or anything. During that same time, Russia did it 39 times.
Well, 1950s, we didn't even have internet. So how did we
Because
go
we had
across the-
CIA that would go around and like pay newspapers in those countries to print certain stories. Or there was one that it talked about. I forget. They went into Italy when they had an election, and this leftist socialist group in like the 70s was leading the vote getting in Italy. The U.S. backed the more conservative people in Italy, so they literally sent the CIA and created a false sex scandal of the other party, and they actually paid for it all. The U.S. paid for it all, and created like a sex scandal that never actually happened, of making the people they didn't like look like debaucherous, like porno stars or whatever. But 85 times in just from 1950 to 2000, we interfered with other countries' elections. And literally, we can't stop for now 3 years talking about how Russia meddled in our election. And then they don't talk about how Russia meddled in our election. Russia meddled in our election by releasing real emails from the DNC showing real corruption in the DNC. So literally, if there was not real emails and real corruption and collusion against Sanders by the DNC, there would have been no emails for Russia to release, which is supposedly the meddling that Russia did, was releasing emails that were actually written by real people in the Democratic Party showing collusion in the Democratic Party for Clinton against Sanders.
Yeah.
So,
well, didn't they also
seem to forget the actual part? Like, they don't ever mention what the meddling was, because if people actually heard it out loud, they would be going, "Wait a minute, this whole thing we're talking about is actual real emails by the DNC showing real collusion and corruption in the Democratic Party." Is that what we're talking about? Okay. And then they don't talk about that the U.S. They talk from some moral high ground that doesn't exist, because the U.S. has interfered in other countries' elections more than Russia ever has, by almost twice. So, so let's get your thoughts. We'll start with Anthony, and then we'll go to Andrea about what your thoughts are on that subject.
Okay, so you were talking about how they hacked into DNC emails.
That is the meddling that they keep referring to. They just don't talk about it anymore. That is how Russia meddled with our politics.
Yeah, I know that's one thing they did, but from what I remember, they also did stuff on Facebook and social.
They bought shills. They paid for shills to talk crap about.
Yeah.
Hillary. But Hillary also bought shills to talk crap about Sanders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
Hillary actually spent millions of dollars hiring people on Facebook to go onto Sanders support sites.
Yeah, so here's where I stand on that. So in terms of like politics and everything, I'm a pretty liberal guy, and in the last election was the last election I was actually, because I'm 23. The last election was the first election I could vote in. So I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary in the last election, because I didn't like either of them.
Yeah, I think I voted green. I ended up voting green, I think is what I voted.
Yeah, I voted for Gary Johnson. I voted for the Libertarian. Yeah, the Libertarian candidate. But so I think that what you're talking about, the sort of hypocrisy you mentioned, it's on both sides. I think that the Republicans, they sort of, the Democrats, their story was the whole thing about how of Russian collusion and everything, and how Russia and the Trump campaign worked together. And I think Trump has plenty of problems. I just have not seen nothing's have really convinced me that there was actually that actually happened during the election, that Trump was actually working with the Russians during the election to get him elected. I mean, because yesterday we had Mueller testify for like 6 hours.
I think Russia did it, but we do it all the time.
Yeah, no.
So
Russia definitely.
What are you complaining about? Like, you have no moral high ground from which to stand.
Yeah, I'm not saying Russia definitely did do it, but in terms of we do it all the time too. I think most things almost anything that America that we get mad at that's happening to America, we do also to other countries. Like
I'm just not a big fan of hypocrisy,
plenty
man. Like, first clean your own house before you talk about someone.
Well,
else.
No, I totally get
literally
that.
I'm not
I
in
agree
any
with that
aspect
sentiment
of
totally.
life or whatever. I'm not a fan of hypocrisy. You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
Exactly.
yeah, but I mean, you got to take a look at it like this too. Look at the water supply in Flint, Michigan. Look what Puerto Rico's still under still trying to rebuild after being hit by the hurricane. And those are Flint, Michigan is United States. Puerto Rico's is U.S. minor
territory.
yeah, U.S. minor territory. Still U.S. property, but we're not lifting a finger.
No, yeah, we don't care. Yeah,
no, because it's not making profit.
Nope.
It doesn't make them money. It makes them spend money.
Yeah.
Anything that doesn't make them money, they don't seem to care about. But this is what happens when you live in an oligarchy, where it's controlled by corporate interests and not what it's supposed to be, which is a republic democracy representing all people. It represents oligarchy basically being a few of the wealthy pretty much control the government.
Yeah, no.
Pretty much what we live in. But more importantly, it was just more the hypocrisy of it. Is I just don't that for 3 years now we're still talking about it, literally still talking about it, and literally it's just a narrative that they're shaping. It's one thing if you want to talk about Russian collusion and those news reports at the same time they're saying that they actually mention what it was instead of trying to hide what they're actually talking about, because that would help their narrative. Like they have not once have I in the last 2 years heard them mention that Russia meddled by stealing real emails from the DNC that showed real collusion and corruption by the Democratic Party. Not once do they talk about that. They just keep talking about Russia collusion. So if you're going to do it, you got to talk about the clarity of what they mean when they keep saying Russia collusion, what actually happened, and keep pulling that as a part of the story. But they don't, because it doesn't push the narrative they want. And secondly, you talk about, hey, guess what? We've been doing that for 60 years, 70 years, actually more than Russia. We just don't like that they're doing it to us. At least have a clarity and truth there, an awareness there of you're letting the people know the whole story and then letting them make a decision on it. What I don't like is this very chopped up, edited narrative that keeps all the actual fact stuff and truths out of the story, and because you're trying to sculpt a very untrue, deceptive narrative that is not the truth. So that's my thing about it. But now,
I say one more thing about it real quick. And Andrea, if you have something to say about it, I don't want to take up too much of your time. But the only thing I want to say is that, I mean, yeah, I do wish that, or I hope that in our next election, Russia doesn't meddle in again. Like as much as you're right about how we do it too and everything, I think it would be nice to actually be able to have confidence in our elections next time around, because I think that the fact
also get rid of the electronic voting machines, because those are but pretty much they were installed because they're easy to hack and easy to manipulate.
Yeah. I'm honestly in favor of getting rid of the Electoral College, but I think we should just have a straight.
I agree with that too. That it should be
majority
a popular
vote. Yeah, just a straight popular vote. I think
every time that the real choice ended up going against what the popular vote was, I usually thought that the other candidate would. Now, I'm not going to say they would have been good, but they might have been less bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, Andrea, sorry, your thoughts on this?
I really don't care for politics for the simple fact that this is exactly the way that it always is. You barely ever hear real truth to anything. We don't know really what's going on, and America, is guilty of sticking its nose in many places it doesn't belong all the time. So I don't. It is. There's that. Oh, I can do it to you, but don't do it to me. So it's
right.
Politics is I can't stand politics because I just don't.
That's how we are with war, I think.
Exactly.
going
We
off-
like to put our nose everywhere, and we go to other countries and dictate how they're going to run their countries. But God forbid anyone come to America and dictate what we're going to do, because
it's funny though. For some reason, where we're always trying to save these downtrodden people, they always seem to have oil.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not just oil anymore.
Like there's downtrodden people in Zimbabwe we don't seem to give a shit about.
Right.
But it's not just oil now. Reason why we're still in Afghanistan is because they have the opioid farms, and opioids is #1 product for big pharmaceutical companies, who are constantly. Purdue Pharma not only got in trouble, or they got in trouble for it, but not only did they create the opioid crisis, not only do they help the opioid crisis, but they're also creating the cure to the opioid crisis. And that's why they got into trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it always ends up, this is what happens when you have giant conglomerate corporation, megacorps, making decisions for countries. So the decisions are always going to be about profit. And then they have a spin cycle doctor who goes in and goes, we're not here for their oil or for this. Look at all these poor people that are being abused. Let's go save them. When in fact, all the countries that have a bunch of poor people and dictators and stuff like that, but don't have any natural resources we don't pay any attention to. So out of all the dictatorships going on in the world and all the abuses and stuff, a lot of African countries have that all the time. But they don't have oil and they don't have something we want, so we don't care. So to me, I'm about truth. So like, let's deal with things and peel away the wizard's curtains and deal with things from. I think the thing is what Sanders is always saying. You got to have someone that's willing to go against the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, which is another big prisons for profit and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the pharmaceutical companies and the CEOs and the fossil fuel industry, and pull all that out of politics. You know what I mean? Because until then, you're not going to get good decisions based on humanity. You're going to get decisions based on whatever makes me money. Which I don't.
Well, get money out of politics is what I think you should get.
The Citizens United, which is the judge, the thing that allowed all that. The judges saying that corporate entities could give unlimited money to political candidates.
No, I think that's got to stop. I think you can't have politicians, people in power, beholden to the interests of corporations.
Yeah, that was Citizens United.
Right.
Yeah. That's your first step right there.
And then I think you also need to put term limits.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree with term limits on Congress.
Senators and House of Reps, you need to put term limits on all those people and get out these entrenched political creatures that have been there for 45 years.
I think there should be term limits on the Supreme Court too.
Corporations.
Well, and also something that else needs to be taken out is the insider trade secrets. A lot of the congressmen have become rich because they pass laws based on what would help them make more money. Of
course, but when is any of that really even gonna change? At the end of the day, everything is driven by profit. It's like you were saying about Puerto Rico. There's so much money thrown into so many other things like military, and yet you have a place like Puerto Rico that hasn't even been provided any type of help at all. And I mentioned Puerto Rico because I'm Puerto Rican and I have family out there. So I know how bad it is, and it's unfortunate that there's so many resources and so much, money and power, and it's not being used for the people, what it's supposed to be for the people, but it's all about profit.
I'm liberal.
Empowerment.
I'm liberal. So but I'm also I also say I try to be realistic too, but to me, a country is only as great as it treats its old and its poorest citizens.
Mhm.
And so to me, I think we have a lot of work to do. And the only one I like Tulsi Gabbard. There's a few of them I like,
Yes.
but the one person I'm literally hearing say over and over and over again by name, I'm going to take on the military-industrial complex. I'm going to take on, and literally naming all of these things and saying, I'm going to go after these people, period. And that's probably Sanders. Although,
no, I love Tulsi Gabbard. Just putting it out there, and I actually made a post today about how I decided today. I was looking at all the Democratic candidates, and I think I've decided I'm almost positive that I'm going to vote for her in the primary at least, and we'll see how far she gets. But I love what she says about.
I would love it if Sanders ended up getting it, but then making Tulsi
like his VP, his running mate, yeah,
so that she could then run for president on the next.
I could get behind that, I guess. Yeah. But I love what she says about getting out of pointless wars. I think that's one of America's one of the things I don't understand about America.
It's tied to what allows them to do everything else. So if you shut down the giant war machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one of the biggest things. I was just going to say real quick.
Start stopping all the rest, because that's the forefront of all the. He was just talking about going in Afghanistan because we want the opioid. That's the pharmaceuticals. But really, it's first driven by the military-industrial complex.
No, and we seem to be on the verge of war with Iran for what I think are
stuff
ridiculous.
That Trump created.
Yeah, it's fabricated. It's nonsense. The stuff that we might be going.
Like we had a treaty with them, and then what do you think is going to happen when you go in and break the treaty out of?
Yeah, like
put more sanctions on them after you're the one that just broke the treaty.
Yeah. No, I hope we don't go to war with Iran, but it looks like it might be something on the horizon. I just want someone who's going to say enough with the pointless killing of our soldiers, sending them off to fight for
corporate interests.
Yeah, to fill the pockets of the corporate of people in power in Washington and the corporate interests. Yeah, enough of that. Stop it. That's my feeling on that, and where I vote.
I agree. Okay, you guys. So we're getting to this has been a titillating conversation.
Yeah.
Amazing info. Great talking to both of you. Amazing guests. But this is where we wrap it up. Hold on a second. Lola's like pissed at me because I'm moving her out of her comfortable sleeping position. Now we could keep talking, but Lola's got places to go, people to talk to. Male dogs, rear ends she needs to sniff. So it's we gotta accommodate the little queen occasionally. But I want to thank Anthony. I want to thank Andrea for great conversation. I want to thank Mark, who is getting back in shape, and pretty soon we'll have his lightsaber. And by no means do I mean this as any kind of phallic symbolization, but he will have it full and strong again.
Oh my God.
And then we also wish great luck to Mark Potter, who has a feature film script in competition right now at Action.
Well, I'm also waiting on a literary agent for my book.
For his novel that he wrote.
Yeah.
And then also I have a short film in competition there at the AOF in Vegas, which he's heading to next week. So we will see how that rolls. But again, you guys, we will be back in 2 weeks with two amazing guys, Ryan and Carrie. And then all I can say is you've been watching StormCrow. Dreamers talking to dreamers. Big thanks from me, from Lola, from Mark. Big love to our guests who will accomplish whatever their aspirations are. We will have them maybe in 6 months. We'll bring them back on, see where they're at. But anyway, big love to y'all. As always, keep dreaming. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.